Welcome to this week's The Courageous Leaders Club, and I am delighted and so excited to have Jessica Mullen with us today, who is the managing partner and co-founder of CreateFuture. Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time today. And I know we've got a lot to cover because I think your story, as you'll all see as you hear, is incredibly inspirational. You know, Jessica's got 20 years previous to starting her own company. Is now moving into kind of coaching territory, which we'll cover at the end. So we've got some real insights and wisdom to share with you on leadership today. Jessica, as I mentioned to you earlier, the first question I always love to start with, because I just love seeing the different interpretation people have. And as of yet, I actually haven't had the same answer twice. And I'd love to know for you, what does courageous leadership mean for you?
Well, first of all, I've just realized that by saying I've got 20 years experience gives my age away. I think I maybe need to change. It's my bio. I need to change it. I've only got 10. I just worked really hard. Courageous leadership and what it means to me. What I think a courageous leader is. I think the first thing I would say is to be yourself. You know, and it's always actually a topic that whenever I'm interviewed or that people are interested to talk to me about, because as an introvert, and I'm in a position of leadership, and I'm quite active in some of the communities I'm involved in, like in the digital communities, etc. And people are surprised. They're like, "Really, you're an introvert?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. I'm an introvert." And I've had to find my own way of being comfortable with that. And feeling like that was, actually I can still be a leader and be a bit more introverted and sometimes a little bit more reserved and not as bombastic perhaps as somebody that was more extrovert. And I think that's really important for people to realize that leaders come in all shapes and sizes and flavors. I don't think that being, an introvert or extrovert is the differentiator between being a leader or not. So I think find your own style. And for me, it's more about the values and responsibility and having a vision. Those are the more important things for me, anyway.
And I absolutely love that answer because, a fellow introvert here as well. I do remember coming up the ranks thinking, all the leaders seem so much more confident, more outspoken. And I thought, oh my word, can I do that with this label of being an introvert? And I love the fact that with your, we said anyone can be a leader. It's not, you don't have a label, you're introvert, extrovert means you're going to be a better leader than somebody else. So I think that's a really, really important point to make. Because I work with many introverts who are like, can I get to that level as an introvert? And it's like completely, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, underestimate us at your peril. Just because we're introverted and a little bit quieter sometimes doesn't mean we can't turn it on when we need to. But it doesn't mean that we're not determined and ambitious. If anything, possibly more so because we feel like we've got to work a little bit harder to do it. And being a woman as well, there's definitely, I think we grow up with this idea of what a leader looks like and sounds like, and I think that conditioning is reinforced in the workplace as well. And so as a female introvert, I think it's even harder. I mean, I was lucky that I grew up. My dad was kind of entrepreneurial, and so I always grew up knowing what I put double pressure on myself. My mom's like a domestic goddess. So I'm like, I've got to be as domestically amazing as my mom and look as fabulous as her, and I've got to run a company and be successful like my dad. And I think I've achieved both. So there we go.
I definitely can't cook. That's not a courageous moment for me. So thinking of courageous moments, actually, in terms of, starting your own business, would you say that was a defining courageous moment for you in your journey, in your leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, it was always something I knew I wanted to do. I didn't know when, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. I think I was sure that I didn't want to do it on my own. It's just part of my character. You know, I like to do things with people. So, and there was a little bit of timing as well. So I started the business with two co-founders, and we're actually a nice balance of extroversion and introversion, so that, and different skill sets as well, so that works quite well. But yeah, taking that plunge, I was working for a good company. I was had the salary. I was in an MD role, and walking away from that into the unknown. When you have to start completely from scratch. It does. I didn't really think about it too much at the time, but looking back, of course, it was because we've been planning it. It was a calculated risk. So I guess when you're doing something over a longer period of time, it's not like a kind of split, like, oh my God, I've got to make this decision now, and it feels really scary and exciting. It was like 6 months of planning before we actually did it. But yeah, it was brave, because it might not have worked out. But no surprise, I had a plan B and a plan C just in case it didn't work out.
A lot for you.
But courage doesn't. I guess the definition. It's how you can reframe courage. Courage can be lots of reflection, lots of planning, over time, well executed. Courageous doesn't have to be something that is impulsive and risk-taking and jumping off a cliff. It's okay to be courageous in different ways.
Oh, I completely, as a fellow planner, I completely agree with that. And I think sometimes it's that courageous moment to go, I actually just need to give this some thought, and that's taking courage to take a step back and think about it. And is this right for you? And what came up for me as a question there, just curious, in terms of going from being an MD and in kind of a corporate network and as an employee, what was that shift for you as being a leader within like an organization to suddenly now being the leader of your own business and being a business owner? Did you notice a shift in how you needed to be thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it felt liberating because I could do things the way that I wanted to do them. I felt that I could properly live my values, create a culture that was a culture that I wanted to be part of. That was always one of my biggest ambitions for CreateFuture, was creating a culture and a business that I would have wanted to have been part of earlier in my career. And that's driven a lot, actually. So it felt liberating, but and of course at the start you go from working within an organization that's got employees and structure, and then there's like 3 of you around a kitchen table, like, oh shit, we've got nothing. And so that felt weird, almost going to a startup scenario, but it was exciting. It was really exciting because we were creating, I've enjoyed things like being able to set up the finance systems exactly how I wanted. We were able to define how we wanted to engage with our clients, what kind of relationships we wanted, what kind of clients we wanted to work with, where our red lines were. That was amazing. Setting our own principles of, people over profit, not the other way around. So so it felt good.
That's brilliant. And you've been going 5 years now at CreateFutures, and going from that start of 3 of you around the table and defining your culture, your red lines. I love if there's a bit of an insight into this question's coming from, because when I work with companies, is a lot of times because they need to reset their culture. They've got to a certain number of people, and suddenly that growth is causing the culture to get a bit watered down. Haven't really thought about what that growth and that scale is going to be. How have you? What are some key learnings from you that, in terms of maintaining that culture, going from 3 over 5 years to growing your team to being able to keep looking after it how you want it to be? What learnings have you got from that?
It takes effort. It takes continual focus and energy. It doesn't just happen. I mean, in my opinion, it doesn't just happen. I mean, I think the authentic core and values need to be there, as table stakes. And if it's rotten at the core, no matter what you do in terms of initiatives, it's still going to be rotten. So I think you need a pure heart at the center. But we give a lot of energy to it, and even more so in the last 12 months, I would say, and I think definitely going into the pandemic, and just really feeling that even more so, a sense of protection over the team, and wanting to support everyone as much as possible, and protect everyone as much as possible from what everybody was dealing with the pandemic. That triggered a number of things, putting in place, restructuring our team, adopting a much more holocratic structure. So we've got circles now, which is, like someone said, so you've put people into circles rather than boxes. It's like, yes, but it's an important distinction. It's much nicer.
So for those that don't know what a holographic, I can never say the word holographic structure is, could you just give a bit of a quick explanation?
Yeah, so rather than being in a hierarchical structure where you've got line managers, people of a similar discipline to you managing you, and it's kind of you are managed by someone else. It's much more around accountability for an activity. So, for example, we have a people circle, and different people are in that people circle, and the responsibility is to look after our people, obviously. The main driver for it was to allow people to play to their strengths, and that is very integral to our culture. It's what we try and do for our clients. Big part of what CreateFuture does is, okay, we're a design and innovation consultancy, but it's about giving our clients belief. It's about building creative confidence that they can achieve what it is that they want to achieve. So allowing people, our team to play to their strengths, because not everybody wants to be a manager. And even if they want it, not everybody is good at being a manager. And I wanted to make sure that our team were supported appropriately in their development, the kind of more emotional pastoral care as well. We even redesigned our PDP system, so a personal development plan system, to recognize that some people want to be specialists, some people want to be just amazing practitioners, and some people actually like being a bit of a blend. They enjoy the biz dev as much as they enjoy running workshops, and that's okay. Everybody contributes in a different way. So doing things like that, it's like actually living your culture, and you're constantly evolving, constantly innovating.
And I love that you're walking your talk, because you said that's what you do for your clients, and you actually do that completely within as well. And the key for anyone listening to this, and please do, if you've got questions, I can see questions as they come up. So if you've got any questions for Jessica as we're talking, please put them in the comments. What I'm really hearing from you is culture takes effort. You need energy behind culture. You can't just put your values together, tell people what they are, and hope you've suddenly got a culture. Or you'll end up with a culture, but it potentially won't be the one that you're dreaming of. So I love that culture equals energy and effort to really bring to life the purpose of what you want it to be like.
Yeah, definitely. And bringing different people's skill sets into that as well. So our brand, the work that's put into our brand to be able to bring some of those cultural aspects visually to life, that's important as well. The fact that we communicate our culture out through our marketing, so the team can see, actually, we're not just doing it, we're proud of it, we shout about it. That's important too. And I was listening to the latest Brene Brown Dare to Lead podcast yesterday, and it's a really good one, actually. It's all about gatherings and how we're going to cope with coming back together in groups post-pandemic. But one of the points they made was to make the implicit explicit. And it might feel sometimes like overkill, but you've got to just keep saying, I know this is how we do things around here, which is often the definition of culture, but we've got to keep talking about it. We've got to write it down. Ideally, we've got to put it on the wall and make it explicit, so that people then know, again, that it's taken seriously, but it allows us to hold each other to account more, because it's not just assumed, it's actually
very clear.
Documented. Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. I was recently working with a team, and the team just said to me, Jo, all we want is clarity. Just, and I love what Brené Brown says, is clear is kind, unclear is unkind.
Yes.
So, just going and looking at even the language in a company, just simplifying it down. So any behavior or value, you can read it and it doesn't need to be explained. It's so explicit in terms of what is expected. And, the power in doing that is when you then need, as you said, hold people to account or give feedback, it's based on clearly what is it, the expectations are, where you actually really depersonalize feedback. And a lot of people are trying to avoid giving feedback to people, but actually when it's explicit and the expectations are clear and the culture is clear, feedback and holding each other to account is 100% so much easier. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think accepting sometimes that people don't fit in your culture, and moving quickly. And I that's something I've maybe not been so great on in the past, because you want to try and make it work, and you feel like if you don't make it work, you failed, and sometimes it just doesn't fit, and that's okay. And actually, usually both parties are much happier with parting company. And it doesn't mean that anyone's wrong. It's just there perhaps wasn't, values weren't quite aligned, or it didn't suit, the culture didn't suit that person, or vice versa.
And I think, building on that as well, it's so important not to make somebody an exception. I had an experience that just because someone was very good at the job, it was okay for them to go against the values and the company culture. And you could just see the damage that was doing. It really damaged the trust within the leaders that somebody could be an exception, because it just then made everyone else say, well, what's the point in us doing it?
Yeah, exactly. So, you've got to be consistent. Again, leadership. What is leadership? Sometimes it's quite boring. It's like being consistent. You're just
keep showing up, doing the right thing,
being responsible.
Totally being responsible. And just in terms of like in your journey, in 5 years running your own business, going through a pandemic, we were discussing actually the importance when we were backstage of taking some time out and that reflection time. How did that manifest for you? And then in terms, what did that then give you?
Yeah. So I did something courageous last year and took some time out. A number of things, obviously having a business, going into lockdown, just that first month, as everybody was, we didn't know if we were going to lose the business. We didn't know if our team were going to get sick. Obviously there was the personal stuff going on as well. It was really, really stressful, and that sense of responsibility weighed very, very heavily for me. And then my mum, we discussed, this was just a year ago, my mum had a brain tumor. She's fine. She got an operation, and amazingly, she is okay. But that was in June. And I was with her when we got the diagnosis. And when somebody tells you you've got a brain tumor the size of a small orange on the front of your head, you don't think that's going to work out that well, but it's amazing. NHS, they were just amazing. So she's all good, but that took its toll. And I got to July, and I was like, I'm exhausted. I was, I was I'd been in survival mode, and I was in burnout completely. And I think for a lot of people in the last year, it's raised a lot of questions, a lot of existential questions. What do I want from life? What's important to me? I was kind of grappling with some personal stuff as well about perhaps how I thought my life was going to work out versus how it's worked out. And it's like, I just need to take a little bit of time out. So I planned for it. It was about a 4 to 6 week lead time, I think, before I actually took time off. I took 5 weeks off. 3 of those I went and spent abroad. I was really lucky. I managed to get the window where I could leave the country before we went into the second lockdown. And I approached it intentionally. You know, I didn't just say, right, I just need to switch off and do nothing and watch TV for 5 weeks. I was like, right, I'm gonna do the work. I'm gonna give myself a week or two where I just do nothing and sunbathe. Great. And then it's like, right, but then I want to work through this issue, and actually I want to do some reflection on what my values are and what, you know, because I felt I needed to find meaning again in what I was doing and how to bring that into it, hopefully bring that into the business. But it was also just that recharging, you know, and building my resilience back up. You know, there's kind of misconception that resilience is about endurance. You know, it's not. It's about recharging. And you know, and I think I felt that it was the right thing to do for the business. You know, it was the right thing to. I wasn't being a good leader. I knew I wasn't going to be able to give the team, give the business what it needed if I was completely exhausted and emotionally burnt out. So by planning meant I felt like I could. I was lucky as well. Like one of the team was just back from furlough, and she has young children, so she had to take some time out to deal with that. She's, you know, she's my rock, and she was able to come back just in time. I was like, thank you. So I really felt that I could walk away. And I think, you know, if anyone's listening to this that's running a team or running a business, think, well, I can't do that. I think my sense of responsibility that this was the right thing to do gave me the strength to do it. But also, you know, one of my principles with running the business is it shouldn't fall apart if I'm not there, because if it does, I've not done a good job. So I actually had to have confidence in myself that, you know, I've set this business up really well. Like everybody, you know, the processes run really smoothly. Everybody knows what to expect. Everybody's already empowered to do their thing. Me taking this time out, I'm not indispensable. And actually, I should feel proud of myself that I feel I can, because it means I've done a good job. And so the result of that, having taken that time out, was, you know, coming back with just obviously recharged, relaxed, but with like loads of great ideas and, you know, a vision for where I wanted to go with the business, and just that clarity of thinking. And I think everyone probably wished I would go away again. Like, can you just, take your energy and ideas and go back on holiday? But it was fun.
I just think it's, like, for me, one of the most powerful messages of this interview is it's okay to stop. It's okay to just take that time to recharge, reflect, strategize, and give your brain a chance to catch up, to find those amazing ideas. Because one of the, I know you had lots of them, but one of the ideas you've come back with the happy, healthy teams, you just want to talk about that for a moment in terms of just having this break, what that's now enabling you to do.
Yeah. So, yeah, happy, healthy teams is kind of our shorthand for kind of our increase, because we were already doing a little bit of it, but an increased focus on the investment and supporting our team to thrive and to flourish. And, you know, I recognized that one of my values is nurturing. You know, one of my values is, you know, wanting to help people. And I felt, you know, on reflecting about my values, etc., I wanted to, well, how can I do that? How can I bring all this knowledge and the benefit I've had of, you know, these amazing experts that I've got, you know, from following a certain more holistic path over the last couple of years. So whether it's nutrition, mental fitness, even, you know, yoga, whatever it might be. And how can I use that and things that I've benefited from and bring that into the workplace? And so it's kind of this, you know, looking at how it can have more impact. And so we've done loads, and, you know, because I saw the benefit not just from our team, but actually then being able to impact the work that we're doing with our clients. And because I think, well, if we could just do a little bit, then, you know, if we make our clients' lives a little bit better, or give them a little bit more confidence, or, teach them when we're running a design sprint that actually, if you eat these kind of foods in a design sprint, it will feed your brain, and actually that will make you feel better than eating donuts. It's like hiding the vegetables, as I say. You know, it's like how you know, you're on ultimately helping people, you know, to an industry-wide impact. You know, I'm involved with BIMA, the digital membership body. You know, okay, well, could I start having an influence at that level?
Yeah.
But also, you know, being with my business head on as well, think, well, actually, this is a really interesting place for us to give energy to, as much as talking about our design work. It's actually, it reflects our values and could give us quite an interesting positioning too. So there was some, you know, there was definitely a commercial benefit to it, of course. Yeah, it's like the business case. So things we've done, we're doing monthly bountiful breakfasts where we bring in interests. The next one is on breath work. So that should be quite interesting. It should be really powerful. We've had them on nutrition, a sleep expert. So that's been really fun.
And your clients get invited to these as well?
We're about to open it up to clients, yes, and friends of CreateFuture. So if you'd like to come along, you're more than welcome. Get involved. The more people that benefit, the better. We've done, you know, just looking at benefits. Again, you know, as a small business, there's certain benefits that bigger companies might have. You know, we've brought on ULife, which is an amazing platform for insurance, but makes it really fun. We have just looked at some of our policies. So again, an example would be baby loss policy. You know, again, these are things that I think a lot of smaller businesses maybe don't even think about. A lot of agencies don't think about. And you know, but we wanted to make sure that we were being at the forefront of considering our team's needs. We're writing a menopause policy as well. Yeah, none of the women are so far there yet, but we want to get ahead of it just in case.
And I just love that, because that's just given me a secondary meaning of, you know, not to probably go into it now, but in terms of a lot of the creative industries, predominantly it's a younger workforce. Trying to encourage that, how much value the older workforce have in the creative industry. So, you know, the fact that you're, you know, looking at all ages can still be in the creative industry, and it's not just the young people coming through. I just think that shows that value as well with thinking about a menopause policy. So I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And for you personally, you're now going even more personally into coaching and learning coaching skills. So did that come off the back of your break? And then for you personally, is that for your leadership or is it for personal help as well?
A bit of both. So yeah, so you know, looking at, because a big part of the Happy Healthy Teams was, as I've said, the client support, and you're thinking about how we could use positive psychology in our design sprints. You know, how we can help our clients to set better goals. You know, look at how they could move past self-limiting beliefs, and so coaching skills come into that. Now I've you know, had the benefit of coaching, and my coach Amanda is, you know, she's brilliant, and I know how much that's helped me to get over some of the things that were perhaps holding me back, or just giving me the confidence to achieve what I've achieved. And so there was an element of wanting to gift that to someone else, but it was mainly how can you, by me learning these new skills, being able to bring that into the business. So, you know, into our PDP process. Okay, well, how do we set even better goals? What are the questions that I can ask to make sure that we all really understand when we kick off a project, what are we trying to achieve? What's the brief behind the brief? You know, if people are, you know, so one of our team, they were struggling with getting over that inner critic when you're presenting creative ideas. And it was brilliant. I was like, okay, I have a model for that. You know, and we were able to kind of go into more of a coaching model to help her in a more structured way, which I think was useful. So yeah, I mean, so many benefits from it. And even just being able to bring, so we have on a Monday morning, rather than do like a run through of projects that we used to do, we now have a team love-in on a Monday morning, so as our stand up. And every week we do something different. So it might be like this week we did, where would you love to go on, if you could transport yourself anywhere in the world, where would it be? So people share, and it's nice. But we the other week we did appreciative questioning. And we, learned about appreciative questioning, and then everybody went into Zoom breakouts and asked each other questions, and it was lovely. So, so cool. Everybody's learning and getting the benefit from it.
So it's just making that most of all your time together as well, that it's really purposeful.
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely wonderful. And, just full acknowledgement, the leadership now, what I'm seeing is being able to, a lot of things we work on as a leader, as coach, being able to understand human behavior, being able to have the models and the tools and the strategies to help humans, but not just get the project out the door is the world we're in now, and the expectation that people are looking for in their leaders as well.
Yeah, but they do, we say happy, healthy teams do better work.
Yeah.
There's creative benefits for a team that are, feeling good, they're in the performance zone. Yeah. You get better outputs. So if you want to come at it purely, so some people aren't, interested in maybe more the emotional drivers to it, but it's like, it makes sense. Like a high performing team will get work done faster and deliver better work. So it makes sense.
It makes sense. And something you've shared with me before is you can't be courageous if you're burnt out, exhausted, anxiety and tired, and you can't. And
Definitely
unfortunately, I'm speaking to more people in that zone right now than I am people who are feeling good and healthy right now. So something's got to shift in terms of how we're leading people.
Yes.
And on that note, what I'd love to know is, I always love to, as we're coming to the Jessica, I could talk to you all day about this. It's so interesting.
I could talk as well.
It's brilliant what you're doing. And for you now, and the journey you've been through and where you are now, what advice is either from two different angles that you'd love to have given your younger self, but also people coming into the industry now? What would that advice be?
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so much, but I think I just wish somebody had sat me down 10, 15 years ago and said, you are enough. You are enough. You don't need to burn yourself out and be working 60-hour, 70-hour weeks to prove that you're good enough. You are enough. And to just have faith that if you're clear on what you want to achieve, it will happen.
Yeah.
It will happen. You don't need to break yourself to get there.
Yeah. And I couldn't support that even more. I just think that's absolutely fantastic. And to be able to look in the mirror and look at yourself and just say, I'm enough.
Yeah. It's not easy. Like I still don't do it. I still, this morning I spoke to like our strategic advisor this morning, and I was like, and I was still having well, what if I'm not doing a good enough job, and I don't think I'm on top of things, and I still have those moments. It's not like I'm immune to it or I've figured it out. Like I still do it. I think the only difference is now I'm aware that I'm doing it. So I'm like, okay, you need to have a word with me. I'm having a word with myself, but it doesn't mean that I can immediately stop it.
Yeah. Oh no. And it's everyone says to me, how do I just do this? This first step is self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of something for me is like knowing I'm enough. It doesn't mean that I might, have a day where I don't feel on top of something, and that is still in me who I am as Joanna Howe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enough. And it's a wonderful, we've quoted Brené Brown quite a lot in this. It's a wonderful, I won't probably get this 100%, but quote she has is, no matter what I've achieved or not achieved today, I'm still enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not so much what you're doing, it's just knowing that you as a person, inside and out, is completely enough.
And it's taken a lot of work for me to get to that. That's not just happened. I've had to put a lot of energy and reading Brené Brown and doing the work to get to a place where I can kind of feel like that. So yeah.
And that's wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing that. And before we close, is there any just final pieces you'd like to share before we finish the interview?
I think just do the work. I think just to continue on that point, do the work on yourself. And see that as a priority. If you're a leader, you are one of your business's greatest assets. You're a resource. And if you're not, think of it like a race car or a racehorse or whatever analogy you want to use or metaphor. And if you're not nurturing that and getting its MOT and giving it the right food or fuel, then it can't continue to perform. So it's okay to nurture yourself and to keep expanding your horizons and do the reading so that you're constantly evolving. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and there's so much material and help out there now. I don't think that we're at a time now where it's so accessible, so you can get access to everything now to really help build yourself up and look after yourself. Jessica, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much wisdom.
Really enjoyed it.
I just love hearing your story, and good luck with everything you're doing with CreateFutures. I think it's an incredibly exciting time for you and how you're helping your clients and expanding what really is design and innovation in terms of the human being side as well. And I just think that's wonderful. So
thank you.
Congratulations in all you've done. Thank you for everyone watching, and we'll see you for another episode of the Courageous Leaders Club soon. Take care. Bye.